Alright, I'm going to try and jam pack as much information as I can into this video to show you how to use Excel. If you already know how to use Excel, then I guess you don't have to watch this. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. So I got this data from FAO. Essentially, all it's doing is it's talking about the USA and China population, their total populations and their rural populations over time. So from 1961 down to 2000. So I just stuck it in here. This is the format I chose. I chose to do it this way, and I want to know the percentage of the population that's in a rural area. So right now we're going to use a formula. We do that by pressing the equals button over the cell we want to put a formula in. So we want to figure out what percentage of the population lives in a rural area. So in order to do that, we're going to set this equal to D5 for the rural population over C5, and by that I mean the total population. And that would get us the ratio, but we want the percentage, so we're going to multiply the whole thing by 100. When we do that, we get a percent. You'll notice that it comes out to 29.674. It's a little bit too much accuracy. I don't know how much 0.004% matters, especially not for just a broad overview. So what we can do is we can go to these buttons over here, and if we push this one, we get more decimal points, and if we push this one, we get less. So depending on how much accuracy you want, you can push them. So if we want tons of accuracy, we can get lots of decimal points. You'll see that if you have more data than will fit in the width of the cell, Excel just kind of freaks out and gives you a bunch of number signs. You could fix that by making the cell bigger, or in our case, just give it less data points. Let's stick with 2 decimals, although I'm not sure how much it's going to matter. We also need the equation for China. We could write out the thing again, but we can also Control-C to copy, come over here, and Control-V to paste. And Excel is smart enough to realize that we've shifted our entire function over, so instead of looking at D5 and C5, we're now looking at G5 and F5, so this comes out to a correct percentage. So in order to get these to go all the way down, Excel's pretty smart, so we can click this little black box. When we do that, you can see if the equation fills in all the way. I also want to do that for USA. Oops, just clicked. There we go. We've got all sorts of information now. This is doing pretty good. Lots of information, but unfortunately, the information is not that pleasing to look at, and part of the whole purpose of a chart is to make the information easy to understand. And right now, this is not easy to understand. So the first thing we can do is we can realize that our numbers are center justified. It's not a big deal, but sometimes it can make the difference between what would be a good chart to a perfect chart. So like right here, the numbers are a little offlined, and sometimes when you put in decimal points, it gets a little fishy. So one thing you can do is you can right justify all the numbers and then center justify maybe all the titles and headings. So in order to select a whole bunch of cells at once, you can hold Control and Shift while selecting a cell, and then one of the arrow keys. So if I hold Control and Shift and press the right arrow key, I select this whole row. And now if I want to select all the columns below it, I just Control Shift down. And there you go. I've selected my entire data set. And up here, I can just right justify all my numbers. So that's pretty good. I think that already helps make everything look a little bit nicer. One thing, though, to keep on going, is that our title, population by 1,000 people, for one, probably isn't the best title in the world. And two, it's also not really that noticeable. So we can take all these cells up here and we can merge them together using the Merge and Center button right here. When we do that, the entire thing acts as one cell, which is nice. So now we can center it both horizontally and vertically, and we can hold the title and make it larger without having it overlap other cells. So this is better. We can merge the USA cells together like this. We can merge the Chinese cells together like this. So now already things are looking a lot better. The next thing I want to talk about is borders real quick. You don't need borders all over the place. There's different ways you can do it. You can either use borders for every cell, or you can change the color of every other row. In this example, I'm going to change the color of every other row. But I do want borders around these because they're pretty distinguished. So if I click up on the border tab up here, I'm going to click all borders. So you see how they all popped up with borders? It's pretty good. But let's see. I also want all of the USA columns to kind of be separated from all of the Chinese columns. So if I Control Shift down, select the entire column, and I want to click on thick border. So now, if I do it on both of them, as well as the year, things are already looking a lot nicer. And I think I actually also want to do it across the entire table to keep things nice and together. Right here, again, this is a minor difference, but you'll see that there's this line here above year, and it shouldn't really be there. So it goes from making the table okay to really good if you merge these two together and kind of get rid of that extra nonsense. This is already a lot better, but I want to draw attention to all of these, so I'm going to bold all of these. And then maybe I'll make USA and China just a tad larger than the others to kind of bring more attention to them. And already you can see that the chart is starting to take shape here. And I said that we were going to color every other row, and there's a couple different ways to do that. The first is that you could go through manually, select a row, and change the color, but I don't think you'd want to do that for all this data. Fortunately, Excel has other options. One thing that you could do is you could select all of your data either with Control-Shift-Click or Control-Shift-Arrow or just dragging. And you could go to Format as a Table and format it as a table. So maybe I want a nice cyan table, and my table is going to include the headers. I want to continue. You'll see what will happen sometimes is if you try and format things as tables, like I'm about to do. Cyan table. Yes. What happens is you get these column texts up here. Which is aggravating because we didn't want that. Maybe we wanted it on total rural and percent rural, but all this text up here isn't what we wanted. And you can play with this as much as you want. I have not found a way to get it perfect how I like it, which is annoying, but hey, what you going to do? Also, for this specific example, we don't really need to do a whole lot of sorting because the only sorting that I can think would be useful is by date. Don't get me wrong, tables are great and very useful, but not in this example. So I'm going to Control Z and undo that. And alternatively, I'm going to select my number data set. And this is a little complex, but it's not that hard to learn. You go to conditional formatting, and now you can get all these rules for how you want it to format. But I want to manage my rules, and I'm going to pick a new rule. And now it gives us all these options for how we want to rule. I actually want to use the formula to determine which cells to format. Down here is where we're going to enter the formula. So the formula is going to be mod, and I'm going to get the row number, and I'm going to take the row number and mod it by 2. For those of you who aren't familiar with the mod operator, it essentially just gets the remainder from the division. So what I have written right there just means divide the row number by 2 and get the remainder. So the remainder will either be 0 or 1. Either the number went in perfectly or there was 1 left over. And I want to format this cell if it is 1. So if the remainder is 1, I'm going to color it differently. So I'm going to color it maybe, I don't know, how about a nice purple? That sounds good. And for the border, maybe we can put a light border on the top and bottom. And we can make that a little bit darker purple. And OK, and OK, and apply, and good. And now you can see that our table is nice and colorful, which is great. I'm also going to take this and maybe I'll color this a purple as well to kind of keep in the theme. I'm just feeling purple today. Alright, so now the data looks a lot nicer. Maybe purple wasn't the best aesthetic choice, but I don't know. You can pick a better color if you like. Colors are important. One thing that I will talk about though is that there's a lot of dead space here. We don't want a lot of dead space, so we can try to shrink our columns to get rid of it. One thing you really want to be careful of though is these large numbers down here. Don't shrink it too much so that they start doing this. That's bad. We don't want that. So I just went ahead and put all the cells into a smaller size. One thing you want to be careful of, you don't want too much dead space here. Like so to the left of the row, there's a little bit of white space. Maybe say, hey, I'm wasting space. But if you shrink it too much, either you lose it, or like even that, it's just obnoxious to look at. So you can either use a border or just leave yourself some space, whichever, depending on how much room you have left on your page or what other stuff is going on. It's up to you. So I'd say at this point our table is doing pretty good. So now let's see, if we want to learn anything from this table, we can look at the percentages. Let's do USA. If we look at the percentages in USA, we'll see that the percent is going down. Not a whole lot, but it goes down about 10% over the course of 40 years. And we could ask ourselves, why is that happening? Or what does that even mean? Well, I guess, let's see. Less people are living in a rural area. Okay, well, can we deduce why? Maybe I would guess that people are moving into cities. How about that? More people are living in cities, less people are living in rural areas. So that's something to take away. But before I'm going to make that my conclusion, I want to try something. Sometimes charts aren't the best way to display the information. Sometimes you need to use a different sort of graphic. So you go up to Insert. You have all these options here for column, line, pies, bars, and areas. Insert a column chart right here. Sometimes Excel will be smart enough to figure out what you want, but other times it won't. So population by 1,000 people per year. Let's see, I didn't input this information, so I don't know what exactly everything lines up to. But I want to build my own column chart. Try again, and I got a blank slate, which is what I wanted. If you right click on the blank slate, you have the option to select your data. And now I want to add a new data series. I'm going to click Add. Now I come up with a series name. I'm going to call this one USA Rural Population. And now for the values in that, I want to select this entire column. So Control Shift down, and then click the OK button. And OK. And now the other axis, I want to represent years. So instead of it just counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to edit this and make this represent my year column. Okay. Let's think about it, because it's a computer, not lightning fast. Okay, and look at it. USA rural population. You can see that back in the 60s it was growing a little bit, then it took a dip around the 70s, and through the 70s it starts to climb, kind of spikes early 90s, late 80s rather, and then starts to decline towards 2000. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. But now let's add in the amount of total population on the same graph or chart. You can do that by selecting the data again and adding a new data series. My roommate is in hysterics right now. Sorry if you can hear him laughing. So this one, we'll call it USA Total Pop. And the series for this, of course, I just want it to be the total population. So Control Shift down, select the whole thing. OK. 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 Excel is being really slow. And now when we look at this, this brings an interesting way to compare the two. Sometimes when you're just looking at the numbers, it's hard to see what's going on. But now we can look at this and we can say, hey, as time goes on, it's not just that there are less people living in the rural population. It's just that there are so many more people in total. So it's harder to take away a conclusion, or it's harder to take away the conclusion that we were going to take away before, which was that people are moving out of rural areas and into the cities. Now there may be something else to consider. So because of time constraints, I'm not going to make another chart for China, but I'm sure you could do the same thing. This is not an acceptable chart to hand in because it doesn't have a title. It doesn't have units anywhere. So if we go to the chart tools and click design, we get nice options for how we want it to lay out. So we can have a chart title, we click on different ones. I don't know what that is. That's weird. There's lots of different things we can do, kind of stock ones. But if you go to layout, you can go to an axis, or axis titles, sorry. Axis title below axis. So right here, I'm going to put time in years. And it's pretty good. And then for the vertical axis, you choose rotated title, vertical title, or horizontal title. I usually like to pick rotated. The other ones just look foolish to me. So this is people by 1,000. And now for our chart title, I'm going to try and come up with something to sum it up. So maybe for this one, we would call it USA population. And we probably want to be a little bit more descriptive, but I'm not feeling very creative right now, so I can't really come up with anything. I apologize. And you'll notice it's hard to figure out exactly, like right here, what is this bar lining up to over on that axis? It can be hard to tell. So go to grid lines. You can make sure that you have minor grid lines, which makes it a lot nicer to try and visualize what's what. And then, of course, you can make the chart bigger. There's lots of different things you can do to try and make it easier to see what's going on. So I think that the chart is a little bit better representation than just the numbers. Put that off to the side. So yeah, hopefully this has been useful. Just try and follow some of the tips I talked about. Make sure that your tables are clear, that the numbers are right justified, that there are units either in the title or at the top of the column, and that you're not taking up too much space. Your charts don't run on multiple pages. That wouldn't be any good. And that the data is clear. The whole point of the chart is to make the data clear. So if the chart isn't displaying your information well, you need to come up with a better way to do it. In this example, I chose to come up with a little bar graph here. Other ways you could do it would be to highlight certain cells or come up with something else, or in your essay, or however explicitly state what you want. Hopefully this has been helpful, and